ជានិច្ចរាល់ថ្ងៃលិចទៅចង់ជួបណាស់ទៅលួងលងឥឡូវនៅតែប្រាថ្នាខំថ្មិញតឹងទ្រូងទូងចិនខ្លោចសាសង្គ្រាមនៃចិនគ្រួសារប្រហារស្នេហ៍យើងក្នុងភ្លើងគ្មានសាយទួងខ្នងច្រវាំងដាំងបងយ៉ាងណាតែចិនស្នេហានៅតែស្រវាហោះជួបគ្មានក្រែងស្លាប់ត្រូវក្រកចងឲ្យអងចំបាញ់គ្មានខ្លាចទេដើរលំពេងដាក់តែងជាថ្មីជួបគ្នាណាពេលជួមរាល់ថ្ងៃលិចឲ្យភ្លេចមិនបានទូកតើយកលយានលំចែវកំសាន្តចិត្តពេលយប់ជ្រៅបើបងជាគ្រុឌរត់ឆក់អីលើបំបាំងកាយបងនឹងពេលប៉ុនភ្នែកសត្រូវរស់នៅសុខសា
Phnom Penh, capital of Cambodia, home to our monarch and the place that all of us here can call home. This place is Cambodia's most technologically advanced area, one of the fastest developing cities in the world. Once known as a Pearl of Asia, this place still has some huge questions around it. Even with being one of the fastest growing cities in the world, you would have expected to have a balanced out rural to urban population. But no, Cambodia is still a rural country, where in its glory days was filled with people. So what changed in our community?
Phnom Penh was known as the Pearl of Asia during the 1920s to the 1960s. Cambodia enjoyed a period of peace and prosperity. The cultivation of rubber and corn during the colonial era was economically important, and the former was a response to a high market demand. This shift to producing commodities transformed the economy. Production technique changed as a response to the need for more intensive factor input. The prosperous 1920s, when rubber, rice, and corn were in demand overseas, were years of considerable economic growth. Although Cambodia was experiencing a period of rapid growth and success, the world lay divided between two great superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. After the end of the Second World War, the Cold War began. Neighboring country Vietnam would experience the effect of the Cold War as the conflict, the Vietnam War, was intensified by the ongoing Cold War. Between 1955 and 1963, the United States provided Cambodia $409.6 million in economic grants aid and $83.7 million in military assistance in order to combat the spread of communism. For a period of time, Cambodia's economy and military was highly dependent on US money. This was able to be seen through the capital. Phnom Penh was heavily modernized. Infrastructure, road, hospital, school were built. With a population of nearly 400,000 people in 1961, a new flashy modern suburb was constructed named Tua Ko. The Olympic Stadium and the International Airport in Pochentong was built not long after. At the Late Basak Theatre and a casino was well on their way. After that, the Sihanouk was commissioned not long after.
Fall of Cambodia. While communists backed by the Soviet and anti-communists backed by the US fought for control in Vietnam, Cambodia declared itself neutral. Cambodia's neutrality was questionable as Cambodian government allowed Vietnamese communists to use the border region as a supply route, which was a huge mistake. During the same time, Lieutenant Lon Nol organized a coup to overthrow King Rodam Sihanouk in Phnom Penh. Meanwhile, communists Cambodia was slowly but violently gaining power and support in the countryside. In 1966, Cambodia held its first democratic election. Through corruption and manipulation, the Conservative won 75% of the seats in the National Assembly. Lon Nol was chosen by right as Prime Minister. The country is now under the leadership of Lon Nol and pro-United States government, the Khmer Republic. January 17, 1968 marked the beginning of the Cambodian Civil War, fought between the Khmer Republic led by Lon Nol and supported by South Vietnam and the United States, and the Khmer Rouge backed by China and North Vietnam led by Pol Pot, which has recently gained support from King Norodom Sihanouk after his exile from the country. During the late 60s, the United States were in a process of withdrawing from the war. President Richard Nixon and his secretary Henry Kissinger were finding ways to prolong the war by not having a heavy presence in the region in hopes of defeating the communists. But their solution was to illegally bomb Vietnamese forces hiding in Cambodia. Operation Menu was a major bombing campaign that was kept secret from the Congress. From 1970 onward, Phnom Penh had not seen much development due to the Cambodian Civil War. From 1970 to 1973, the U.S. dropped 500,000 tons of bomb on the Cambodian border, killing more than 100,000 civilians. This caused many people in the region to have an extreme resentment against anti-communist forces and supported the Khmer Rouge. Many historians believe this resentment caused a power vacuum for a deadly and disruptive regime to seize power in Cambodia. In 1973, Cambodia withdrew from the war and North Vietnam took over Saigon and won the Vietnam War. The U.S. has left the war, and Khmer Rouge having a more dominant influence in the country. The Khmer Republic and Lon Nol collapsed after 8 years, 1 month and 6 days. On April 17, 1975, the Cambodian Civil War is over. The Khmer Rouge were victorious and took over the capital.
Muôn thời mai Pol Pot dây nó không tí krong Phnom Penh rồi si đâm tận năm lụa tờ lái lụa ấy chấm khẩn chăm chi phiếp luôn ai thầm đá dương cái thơ dương rô si tập luôn dương tâu cái thơ ấy thơ tâu dương cầm mình quality đăng về rô si chấm nông cua xa dương nóสมัย Pol Pot គេឲ្យខ្ញុំនឹងទៅកាប់ដីរែកធ្វើបន្លាយរែកដីរត់បណ្ណាំងគ្នាអីចឹងកងពិសេសអីចឹងណាហើយតល្ងាចឡើងទៀតយើងសម្រាប់ហូបបាយមួយផ្លែតចឹងគេហូបបាយល្ងាចហើយចឹងគេឲ្យយើងទៅដកសំណាបទាំងយប់ដកសំណាបប្រហែលជា2ម៉ោង3ម៉ោងគាត់គេឲ្យយើងមកដេកសម័យ Pol Pot ហើយមកនៅស្រុកប្តីបាក់ខាងជើងសាតកែវនឹងបាច់ហើយមកនៅខាងជើងសាតកែវនឹងបាពោតើតាអូស៊ីអីឡើងកើតអូស៊ីអីឡើងបានរត់ទៅទីក្រុងភ្នំពេញវិញទៅអូស៊ីដាំដំណាំដាំបន្លែអីចឹងទៅលក់បន្លែលក់អីចឹងទៅណាហើយវាមានវាដូចថាវាជឿនលឿនស្រុកនឹងវាសម័យនឹងវាស្រួលរស់ស៊ីសម័យឥឡូវស្រួលជាងវាជឿនលឿនហើយវាស្រួលរស់ស៊ីហើយអ្វីក៏វាមានឲ្យតែយើងរស់វាចេះអត់ឲ្យយើងរស់ដឹងតែបាន
After the Vietnamese troops overthrew the regime on 17th of January 1979, a period of reconstruction began, spurred by continuing stability of the government attracting new foreign investments. Double-digit economic growth rates in recent years have triggered an economic boom, with the new infrastructure, schools, residential buildings springing up in the city. The economy is based on commercial interests such as garments, trading, and small medium enterprises. In the past few years, real estate prices have rapidly increased due to the Chinese investment in the sector. The population in the city is over 2 million people. 85% of the population in Phnom Penh are from the people who came back after the regime. They all had children exceeding the generation by twice the amount, while 12% of those 2 million are from those who recently migrated from the countryside to the city seeking a better career path. And the other 3% are from the people abroad staying in the city temporarily.
Phnom Penh is predicted to become upper middle city by 2030 and achieve high income status by 2050. The government will need to push forward the necessary structural and government reforms and maintain robust, sustainable growth in the long term. The future looks bright.